Hey, this is Tom, and unfortunately, this recession is going to be unlike anything we have ever seen, assuming this doesn't turn into a global depression. Now, Benjamin Franklin once said, by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So, instead of ignoring and hoping it away, let's see how we can prepare for what's coming so we can survive it and even come out on top. A recession is sometimes, at least in part, a self-fulfilling prophecy. People who fear a recession spend less, thereby starting a chain reaction of layoffs, less spending, and so forth. Now, that is why the University of Michigan has a consumer sentiment index that is widely considered as the very best predictive tool of an upcoming recession. Just a year ago, we were at 81. Currently at 51, the lowest number we have been at since the late 70s, even lower than the Great Recession of 2008. Okay, so we know people are convinced we're headed for a recession. But here's the problem. In every recession we have seen so far in history, the GDP goes down while unemployment goes up. Now in Q1, GDP decreased by 1.6%. We know that. And we also know that according to GDP Now, it is expected to decrease by another 1.5% for the second quarter. What about unemployment? Well, in December 2008, unemployment was 7.2%, which is the last time we crashed super hard. Right now, you want to guess where we're at? We're at 3.5%, which is the lowest unemployment rate we had in the past 50 years. The crazy part is that most economists will tell you that these two are connected since they are derivatives of each other, literally. More workers, more production, more GDP, and vice versa. Less workers, less GDP. So why are they behaving in an opposite manner? Is this a sign that a recession is not coming? Well, not exactly. So the first reason why most of these available jobs are out there is because companies are having trouble filling low-paying, stressful jobs that honestly people are not that interested in. But that's just part of the story. Secondly, and more important, is that corporate profit margins right now are literally at an all-time high. Cash reserves by US companies are at an all-time high, even despite this latest pullback in the stock market. Now, this is exactly why you don't see any layoffs yet, at least not major ones. Employers fear that it would be more expensive to rehire somebody rather than to retain a current employee, even if times are not that good. It's pretty much a game of chicken. So here it is. GDP is falling. Companies are not firing. This obviously cannot go on forever. Now, if GDP, gross domestic product, does not recover soon, the floodgates of the employment market, or rather the unemployment market, will open up faster than my grandpa falls after a 4th of July party, and the layoffs will be coming. So can we get out of this before the job market absolutely goes berserk? Well, that depends on how quickly we can start increasing GDP. That is the key to this whole thing, because a decreasing GDP is a freaking ticking time bomb for the job market. And the job market is the key to the economy. If the job market goes, it's game over and welcome recession. But first, I have to explain a paradox I've never heard people talk about. To grow GDP, which we absolutely have to, we need to invest in infrastructure, R&D, and education, right? Healthcare, all that good stuff that set up the best conditions for production to increase and flourish. The problem is we have over $30 trillion in national debt, which is 1.5 times our GDP. And when the interest rates on these debt payments keep going up every single month to battle inflation, it's going to come at the expense of other investments in business, in private productivity, in everything I just mentioned. So as we pay more on US debt because we're trying to battle inflation, we cannot invest in the same things we need to boost GDP. We're pretty much trapped. The other thing is that, don't forget, we are part of a global economy. Now, I just made a video about Sri Lanka. I'm going to put the video right here. It just collapsed. But I believe Sri Lanka was just the canary in the coal mine. Yes, it was partially self-induced, but COVID, slowdown in supply chains, oil prices, Ukraine war, increased borrowing costs. More expensive money means trouble. Supply chains going to shit means trouble. War in Ukraine means trouble. All of these played a huge part in the collapse of Sri Lanka. And they're not going away anytime soon in the US. Because what happens is that all of these factors are basically eating away at our purchasing power. Cost of living keeps going up. So if we are paying twice as much to put gas in our cars to drive to work, and we're paying 30% more for food while getting pretty much the same amount of salary, we will have to cut back on other spending. That's just normal. And if the cost of living continues to outpace the increase in wages, which it has so far with flying colors, the consumption will drop and the recession will be pretty much inevitable. And then even the mighty job market will take a massive hit. So instead of crying about it, I think it's time to prepare your personal finance as well as your investment strategy for what's to come. So let's start with personal finance. You need to do a few things. Diversify your income streams. Add new skills to make yourself more valuable for current and future employees. Increase cash reserves. Don't buy new shit you don't need, like a new car. Don't create new fixed payments. Create a personal balance sheet, a personal cash flow report, a personal budget. Cook, make coffee at home. Be responsible. Do not panic. And obviously, reduce debt. Now, on the investment side, you have to look for companies with non-discretionary products and services in a market with little competition. Essentially, things people or businesses cannot live without, and there's not a lot of alternatives. That structure would allow such companies to pass along inflation expenses to their clients through high pricing power, high margins, basically leading to sustained profitability even in the recession. Now, ideally, it would be a company that does not need a lot of working capital to operate, has little debt, plenty of cash, and is not exposed to energy prices, commodity prices, and shifts in supply chains. That would be the ideal one. And obviously, that's just the executive summary of preparing your personal finance and investment strategy for the upcoming recession. If you actually want to watch a full tutorial on both of these issues, there's the video right here about personal finance preparation for recession. There's a video right here for investment strategy in the recession. And right here, you can subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We'll see you in the next video.